Imagine working as a janitor your whole life, living really frugally and just quietly investing your savings.
Hmm.
And then after you're gone,
Yeah.
everyone finds out that you secretly amassed like an $8 million fortune.
Wow.
It's a pretty incredible story.
It is.
That's the story of Ronald Reed, and it really illustrates the surprising psychology behind building wealth.
It does, and it kind of challenges our assumptions about what wealth is, right? We
Hmm.
think about, flashy cars,
Mhm.
extravagant spending, but Reed's story shows that true wealth can be built quietly through patience,
Exactly.
smart habits, and that's something that Morgan Housel explores brilliantly in his book, The Psychology of Money.
Yeah, and that's actually going to be our guide for this deep dive today,
Perfect.
uncovering those often overlooked mental and behavioral factors
Right.
that shape our financial lives, really.
Absolutely.
So if you're finding these insights valuable, subscribing to our YouTube channel
Good idea.
is a great way to catch more deep dives like this one. We cover all sorts of fascinating topics.
You do.
Um, but, this isn't your typical financial advice about picking stocks or timing the market or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that psychology behind our money decisions.
Exactly. And Housel really drives this point home by comparing Ronald Reed, the janitor,
Right?
to Richard Fuscone,
Yeah.
who was a Harvard-educated financial executive.
Yeah. He had it all pedigree connections.
Yeah, he had all the advantages you could want.
Yeah.
And yet,
Yeah.
he ended up losing his fortune.
It's really a stark contrast
It is.
that highlights how patience and avoiding excessive risk can be more crucial
Absolutely.
than just, having a fancy degree or
Yeah.
whatever.
Reed consistently invested small amounts over decades,
Right.
reaping the benefits of that compound growth.
Yeah.
While Fuscone seems to have been more focused on quick wins
Right.
and risky bets.
Yeah. Almost like the tortoise and the hare story,
It is.
but in finance. Now, while we're on this topic of, different paths to success,
Sure.
Housel also digs into the story of Bill Gates.
Yeah,
Obviously, someone we all associate with incredible success.
of course.
To really illustrate how luck plays a much bigger role than we often realize.
That's right. And, Gates had access to a computer in high school
Right.
at a time when they were extremely rare.
Yeah.
This early exposure was pivotal to his journey.
Of course.
A lucky break that many others didn't have.
Right.
And it really underscores the power of circumstances outside our control.
Yeah.
To further emphasize this point, Housel shares the story of Gates's close friend, Kent Evans,
Right.
who was equally gifted,
Wow.
died young.
Oh, wow.
A stark reminder that even the most promising trajectories
Yeah.
can be interrupted.
That definitely makes you pause and think about all the what ifs
It does.
and how much of what we achieve is influenced by factors we can't predict or control.
Absolutely.
But does that mean we're just powerless?
No, not at all.
Should we just throw our hands up and say, oh, well, it's all up to fate?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Recognizing the role of luck shouldn't make us feel powerless.
Right.
Instead, it should add nuance to our understanding of success.
Okay.
Encourages us to be humble and appreciate opportunities,
Yeah.
while also being mindful of the risks we take.
Okay, so it's not about ignoring our efforts or skills,
Right.
but rather acknowledging that luck is part of the equation.
Part of the equation. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about making smart choices within the context of this larger picture.
Absolutely.
And speaking of making choices, Housel then goes on to examine the challenges of staying wealthy,
Right.
which, as it turns out, can be even harder than getting wealthy in the first place.
It can be.
He uses these contrasting stories of Jesse Livermore, who was this brilliant trader,
Mm-hmm.
and then Abraham Jermansky, real estate developer,
Okay.
both of whom lost their fortunes.
Yeah, Livermore's story is a cautionary tale about overconfidence and leverage. He made a fortune during the 1929 crash,
Wow.
but ended up losing it all.
Oh, wow.
It highlights the psychological toll that wealth can take,
Right.
and how easily discipline can slip away when large sums of money are involved.
Yeah, Jermansky's story mirrors this, showing how market shifts
Yeah,
can wipe out even those who seem incredibly successful.
that's right.
And it seems like there's a whole other skill set needed to hold on to wealth,
Yeah.
to ride those inevitable market waves without getting swept away.
Housel calls this survival.
Okay.
And he argues that it's the most critical element of long-term financial success.
Okay.
It's not about chasing the highest returns,
Right.
but about avoiding those catastrophic losses.
Oh,
Making decisions that allow you to stay in the game long enough to benefit from that long-term steady growth.
so it's like building financial resilience.
It is.
Making sure you're not wiped out by one bad bet.
Exactly.
If you're interested in learning more about building that kind of financial resilience, you should definitely hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel.
Good call.
We have a whole series on building a strong financial foundation.
Awesome.
Okay. Let's dive a bit deeper into this idea of long-term growth,
Okay.
particularly the power of compounding.
Right.
Housel uses Warren Buffett as the ultimate example of how this seemingly simple concept can lead to extraordinary results.
It can.
What's fascinating about Buffett's story is that most people don't realize that the majority of his wealth was accumulated after he turned 50.
Wow.
Really highlights how compounding needs time to work its magic.
It does.
Like planting a tree,
Right.
you don't see massive growth overnight,
Yeah.
but with consistent nurturing over decades,
Yeah.
it can become mighty.
So patience really is a virtue,
It is.
especially for those of us looking to grow our wealth over the long term.
For sure.
But it's not just about waiting for money to magically multiply on its own.
No.
Right?
No.
Housel also emphasizes the importance of something much more fundamental.
Savings. And for anyone who wants to unlock the secrets of building lasting wealth,
Yes,
make sure to subscribe to our channel to catch the rest of this deep dive.
definitely.
We'll be back after a short break.
Sounds good. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how essential savings are for building a solid financial foundation.
Right.
But, it's not just about amassing a pile of money.
Yeah.
What truly matters is what that financial security allows you to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where one of the most thought-provoking ideas from the psychology of money comes in.
Okay.
The concept of time being the ultimate dividend.
I like that.
Housel argues that controlling your time is the most valuable thing that money can buy.
It's a great point.
And he's not talking about early retirement necessarily,
Right.
although that can be a part of it.
Yeah.
It's more about having the flexibility to shape your life,
Mm-hmm.
to pursue what truly matters to you.
Yeah. To have options, right?
Yeah.
Spending time with loved ones, traveling, learning new things, contributing to your community. Right. All those things that bring true fulfillment
Yeah.
rather than feeling stuck in a job or a routine just to pay the bills.
Exactly.
Right?
Housel shares a personal story about wanting to be an investment banker.
Okay.
The allure of a high salary was strong,
Of course.
but his internship experience quickly revealed the downsides.
Uh-huh.
The demanding hours and lack of control over his schedule made him miserable,
Wow.
even with the intellectual stimulation and financial rewards.
It's a great reminder that money can open doors, but it can't guarantee happiness,
It's true.
especially if it comes at the cost of your time and well-being.
That's right.
Right.
He later decided to quit his job and pursue music,
Wow.
embracing a more frugal lifestyle to gain control over his time.
All right.
So this personal story really emphasizes that wealth isn't solely about how much money you have,
Right.
but how much freedom you have to live life on your own terms.
It's about designing a life that reflects your values and priorities,
Absolutely.
rather than being dictated by financial constraints.
I love that.
Yeah, and this resonates with me because I think a lot of people feel stuck, like they have to sacrifice their time and dreams just to make ends meet.
Yeah, it's a common feeling.
Right.
And that's where understanding the real nature of wealth can be so liberating.
Okay.
Housel argues that true wealth is often hidden.
What does he mean by hidden wealth?
It's not about what you see, the fancy cars
Right.
or the extravagant vacation.
Right.
It's about what you don't see.
Okay.
It's the money you haven't spent,
Okay.
the financial security that provides you with options,
Yeah.
and the freedom to say yes to what matters most.
Or even to say no
Yeah.
to situations that don't align with your values.
Exactly.
So it's about having that financial cushion
yes.
that allows you to make choices from a position of strength,
Yeah,
rather than feeling forced into decisions you might later regret.
absolutely.
He contrasts this with richness,
Okay.
which is often very visible but often fueled by debt.
Yeah, think about those who seem to have it all. Expensive cars designer, clothes, lavish lifestyles,
Right.
but are actually drowning in credit card bills and loans.
It's like the difference between looking wealthy and actually being financially secure.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in appearances,
It is.
but that can be a dangerous trap if your finances aren't truly solid.
Absolutely. That's why financial literacy is so important.
Right.
It's about understanding the difference between assets and liabilities,
Mm-hmm.
between building wealth and simply accumulating possessions.
Okay.
It's about making informed decisions that align with your long-term financial goals.
Speaking of informed decisions,
Yes.
Housel argues that in today's world,
Mm-hmm.
flexibility is becoming more valuable than ever.
That's an insightful observation.
Yeah, in a globally connected job market
Right.
where skills and industries are constantly evolving,
Constantly changing.
adaptability is key.
You got it.
So it's not just about what you know,
Mm-hmm.
but how quickly you can learn and how well you can adapt to change.
And how does this tie back to personal finance?
Yeah, how does that work?
Well, financial flexibility gives you the power to make choices that align with your evolving goals.
Okay.
Allows you to take calculated risks,
Yeah.
pursue new ventures,
Mhm.
change careers, or even relocate without being held back by financial constraints.
So it's about having that freedom to pivot, to
Yeah.
explore different paths without the constant worry of, can I afford this?
It's about being in control of your financial life
Right.
rather than feeling trapped by circumstances.
Yeah.
If that resonates with you and you want to delve deeper into building financial flexibility,
Okay.
be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insights.
Now, on to a topic I've always found interesting.
Okay.
Housel suggests that we shouldn't aim to be coldly rational
Right.
with our financial decision.
Okay.
Instead, he advocates for being pretty reasonable.
Interesting.
Seems counterintuitive.
Yeah, why not strive for perfect rationality?
Mm.
Well, he makes the case that we are, at our core, emotional beings.
Right.
Not spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Trying to completely shut off our emotions when making financial decisions
Yeah.
can actually backfire.
So it's about finding that middle ground where logic and emotions work together.
I think so.
It's about acknowledging our human tendencies, right?
Exactly. It's about making choices that make sense financially,
Right.
but also feel right emotionally.
Okay.
Here was the example of Julius Wagner-Jareg,
Okay.
a psychiatrist who treated syphilis with malaria.
Wow.
It sounds crazy, but it worked.
Okay, but how does that relate to managing money?
Well, it highlights the tension between what's scientifically proven
Okay.
and what feels comfortable.
Yeah.
Even a particular financial strategy is statistically sound.
Right.
If it feels too risky or uncomfortable for you personally,
Yeah.
you're less likely to stick with it in the long run.
So it's about finding a strategy that's effective, but also aligns with your risk tolerance.
Yeah.
And your emotional well-being. That makes sense. Are there other situations where being pretty reasonable might be better than striving for pure rationality?
He mentions the home bias,
Okay.
which is the tendency for investors to favor companies from their own country.
Right.
While this might not be the most diversified approach,
Yeah.
it can be reasonable if it makes you feel more confident and comfortable with your investments.
Okay.
He also discusses day trading and picking individual stocks.
Mm-hmm.
While these strategies are statistically unlikely to outperform the market over the long term,
Right.
they can be reasonable in small amounts if they satisfy a desire for engagement and learning,
Okay.
as long as the majority of your portfolio is invested in a more diversified and passive way.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where your head and your heart agree.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that personal finance is truly personal.
It is.
And what works for one person might not work for another.
Absolutely.
What matters is finding a strategy that you can stick with,
For sure.
that helps you sleep well at night.
Right.
Knowing that you're making choices that align with your values and your vision for the future.
Well said.
And speaking of navigating those choices in a world full of uncertainty,
Okay.
we'll be diving into that very topic in the next part of our deep dive.
That's exciting.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the psychology of money.
It's great to be back.
Before we went to a break, we were talking about finding that balance
Right.
between logic and emotion
Yeah.
in our financial decisions.
Yeah.
Being pretty reasonable, as Housel puts it.
I like that term.
But the real world throws us curveballs, right?
It does.
Those unexpected events
Absolutely.
that can really shake things up.
Yeah.
And that's where managing uncertainty comes in.
And that's where Housel's discussion of tail events becomes so relevant.
Okay.
These are those unpredictable, often low probability events
Right.
that can have a huge impact,
Okay.
shaping history and financial markets in ways we can't foresee.
So like black swan events.
Exactly.
Those things that come out of nowhere and change everything.
Yeah, think about events like the Fukushima nuclear disaster
Right.
or the impact of 9/11 on the global economy.
Wow.
These are prime examples of how tail events can disrupt even the most carefully laid plans.
It's a bit unsettling to realize that no matter how much we prepare,
Yeah,
there's always a chance for something unexpected to happen.
always.
Makes you think about how much control we actually have.
And that's precisely why Housel stresses the importance of room for error.
Okay.
It's about building a buffer into your financial life, a margin of safety that can help you absorb the shock of those unforeseen events.
So it's not about being overly cautious or avoiding risk altogether,
Right.
but rather acknowledging that we can't predict everything
Yeah.
and creating a plan that's flexible enough to adapt.
That's it. Having a financial cushion, whether it's an emergency fund
Right.
or simply a lower debt load, provides peace of mind and empowers you to make choices from a position of strength, even when faced with unexpected challenges.
It's about having options, not feeling forced into decisions you might regret later because of financial pressure.
Exactly.
But some might argue that playing it too safe can limit your potential returns.
Right.
If you're always focused on minimizing losses, won't you miss out on those big wins?
That's a common concern, but Housel argues that it's not about avoiding risk entirely.
Okay.
It's about understanding that volatility and uncertainty are inherent parts of seeking higher returns.
Okay.
He compares it to paying a fee.
So explain this idea of fees versus fines when it comes to investing.
Think of it like this: volatility and uncertainty are the price of admission for the potential of higher returns.
Okay.
Just like buying a ticket to Disneyland, you're paying for the experience, knowing there will be ups and downs along the way, but the overall experience is worth it.
So instead of viewing market fluctuations as punishments for doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
we should see them as the inevitable cost of participating in the game,
Yeah.
a fee we pay for the opportunity to grow our wealth over time.
Precisely. It's a shift in mindset. Yeah.
Embracing the reality that volatility is part of the process.
Right.
A fee rather than a fine can help you stay the course, even when the market gets turbulent.
That's a helpful way to look at it.
It is.
But how do we know we're paying a fair fee?
That's a good question.
How do we avoid getting taken for a ride?
That's where understanding your own time horizon becomes crucial.
Okay.
Housel emphasizes that we shouldn't get caught up in the actions of others who are playing different games in the market.
So recognizing that everyone has different investment goals and time frames?
Exactly. A day trader might be focused on making quick profits within hours,
Right.
while a long-term investor, like someone saving for retirement decades down the road, has a much different time horizon.
Of course.
It's about identifying your own game and making decisions that align with your specific goals and time frame.
That makes sense. If you're in it for the long haul, you shouldn't panic over short-term market swings
Exactly.
or try to time the market based on what day traders are doing.
Stay focused on your long-term strategy and let time work its magic.
That's a key takeaway from The Psychology of Money.
It is.
Now, speaking of long-term thinking, Housel tackles a fascinating topic: the allure of pessimism.
Okay.
He argues that while the world overall tends to improve over time,
Right.
pessimism often sounds smarter and grabs more attention. Why do you think that is?
Well, it seems like bad news always travels faster than good news.
It does.
We tend to fixate on the negative, maybe because it feels more urgent or threatening.
There's also a perception that pessimists are more realistic,
Yeah.
that they're not wearing rose-colored glasses. It
Yeah.
can be tempting to assume they have a deeper understanding of the world because they're focused on potential dangers.
So it's easier to sound intelligent by pointing out all the things that could go wrong.
Housel challenges this notion. He uses historical examples like the 1970s oil crisis
Right.
or the recovery of Japan after World War II to show how pessimism often underestimates human ingenuity and resilience. Despite facing incredible challenges, we have a remarkable capacity for innovation and problem solving.
It's a good reminder to keep things in perspective. The world has faced countless crises throughout history
It has.
and has always found a way to move forward, often emerging stronger and more prosperous on the other side.
Right. While it's prudent to be aware of potential risks and plan for the unexpected,
Yeah,
it's equally important to maintain a sense of optimism about the future.
I agree.
Pessimism can be paralyzing, preventing us from taking calculated risks and pursuing opportunities that could lead to growth and fulfillment.
So it's about finding that balance between cautious planning
Yes.
and embracing the possibility of a positive future.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that while challenges are inevitable, so is our capacity for overcoming them.
Well said. And that wraps up our deep dive into Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
It does.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the role of luck and the power of compounding to the importance of savings and understanding your own time horizon.
Absolutely. If you found this exploration of the often hidden forces that shape our financial decisions insightful,
Yes.
be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more thought-provoking deep dives like this one.
And as you continue on your own financial journey, we'll leave you with this question to ponder.
Okay.
If you could design your ideal financial life, what would it look like? What trade-offs would you be willing to make, and what steps can you take today to start building that future?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the psychology of money.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time.